OpenClaw is an infrastructure engine designed to run autonomous AI agents and connect them directly to messaging tools like Slack and WhatsApp. Power users often take this setup a step further, detaching it entirely from the cloud. The goal of a local deployment is to move the compute to your own hardware, shifting data control from a third-party provider back to your physical machine. But this independence comes with a trade-off. By going off-grid, you lose the invisible, constantly updated safety filters maintained by massive AI providers like OpenAI and Anthropic. Without those external guardrails, a local agent is highly exposed to a specific vulnerability: prompt injection. A prompt injection is a cyber attack executed in plain English. A hacker writes a malicious instruction, disguises it as normal user input, and sends it to the agent. Once inside, that disguised packet bursts open, overriding the agent's core system prompt and replacing it with the attacker's instructions. The agent might then route your private documents to an external email address or quietly execute rogue code on your server. Maintaining a private environment without the safety net of big tech requires you to build your own local cybersecurity fortress from the ground up. The first line of defense in OpenClaw is computational mass. Running a highly compressed or small AI model locally is a security risk. When these smaller models encounter a prompt injection, they lack the capacity to hold on to their original system instructions. They leak safety, becoming easily confused by conflicting commands. This chart shows the structural integrity of different hardware setups when under attack. A single 24GB GPU often collapses under the stress of a complex injection attempt. To maintain a rigid defense, OpenClaw requires unquantized full-size models like Quinn or DeepSeek. Running these requires serious hardware, usually 2 maxed-out Mac Studios or an equivalent heavy-duty GPU rig. That hardware power allows you to run a minimum 32,000 token context window. Think of this as a massive memory buffer. It gives the model the space to absorb a flood of malicious input without being forced to push its original safety instructions out of its working memory. In local AI deployments, computational mass directly translates into structural security. Once you have a massive model running securely on a platform like LM Studio or Llama, you need to lock down the software. OpenClaw handles this using the Responses API, a critical communication shield between your local AI and the outside world. This diagram shows how the Responses API cleanly splits the data stream. It keeps the agent's internal reasoning process trapped in a closed loop and only allows the final, sanitized text output to travel out to messaging apps like WhatsApp. If an attacker tries to probe your model to see if their injection is working, they fly blind. Their probing attempts hit the filter barrier and bounce off, giving them zero visibility into the agent's logic. But you still have to plan for indirect attacks. This happens when an agent is sent out to summarize an external web page and accidentally reads malicious code hidden in the site's text. To survive an indirect attack, you have to limit the agent's blast radius. You do this by enforcing the principle of least privilege, giving the AI exactly enough power to do its job and nothing more. In OpenClaw, you can aggressively strip the agent of its capabilities using a configuration flag called compat.supportstools false. This cuts off access to heavyweight default tools, preventing the agent from opening web browsers or scheduling background cron tasks. By stripping away those external tools, you ensure that even if the agent's logic is temporarily hijacked by a web page, it has no weapons to wield against your system. Physical hardware requires maintenance. Servers crash, power goes out, and components need replacing. To ensure your agents never drop offline during these physical outages, OpenClaw uses a configuration command called models.modemerge. This visualization shows a routing matrix in action. You keep a hosted provider, like Anthropic or a regional OpenRouter endpoint, configured as a backup. The moment your primary local server goes dark, the data traffic instantly reroutes to the hosted fallback. The agent continues chatting with users without missing a beat. Once your hardware is back online, the traffic routes back to the local machine, restoring your local data controls. Managing a local model is a challenge of system architecture. By pairing massive hardware with strict API routing and narrowed permissions, you build a resilient system that balances the convenience of AI with the control of a private network.